What if everything you've ever been taught about light and darkness is backwards? What if the natural state of our universe isn't filled with light, but instead, darkness is the default condition of reality itself, and light is the anomaly, the exception, the rebellion against the cosmic norm? Here's something that will shatter your perception of reality. Right now, as you watch this video, you're sitting in a universe that is 99.99% dark. Not just physically dark, but fundamentally, essentially, at its very core, composed of darkness. The light you're using to see these words? It's a temporary disturbance in an ocean of infinite blackness. Think about that for a moment. Every star you've ever seen, every sunset that's taken your breath away, every light bulb in your house, they're all just brief flickers in an eternal night that has existed for 13.8 billion years and will continue long after every star burns out. But here's what will absolutely blow your mind. Darkness isn't just the absence of light. Recent discoveries in quantum physics and cosmology suggest that darkness might actually be something, a fundamental property of space-time itself. The universe doesn't just lack light in most places. It actively maintains darkness as its ground state. And we're about to discover why this changes everything you thought you knew about existence. Before we dive deep into this mind-bending journey, do me a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe, because what you're about to learn will fundamentally change how you see reality. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. I want to know how many people across this dark planet are experiencing this revelation simultaneously. Are you watching in daylight, thinking you're surrounded by light? Or at night, finally honest about the darkness that's always been there? Let's start with something basic that nobody tells you. When you flip off a light switch, you think darkness returns, right? Wrong. Darkness never left. It was always there. Light is what left. This isn't just semantics. This is fundamental physics, and it reveals something profound about the architecture of our universe. Think about a room. When the lights are off, we say the room is dark. When we turn on the lights, we say it's illuminated. But here's the critical insight that physicist Hermann von Helmholtz understood back in 1856. Light is an event, a phenomenon, a temporary excitation of electromagnetic fields. Darkness is the default. It's what exists when nothing is happening. When photons stop interacting with your retina, you're not experiencing the presence of darkness. You're experiencing the absence of a specific type of energetic particle. But the darkness? It was there all along, underlying everything. Helmholtz discovered this while studying the speed of nerve impulses and how our eyes process light. He realized that our perception of brightness isn't about detecting light. It's about measuring the deviation from darkness. Your eyes right now are darkness detectors that happen to notice when photons interrupt that darkness. Every moment of vision is your brain calculating how much the darkness has been disturbed. Now let's scale this up to something that will make your head spin. Look up at the night sky on a clear evening. What do you see? Most people say they see stars. But that's not what you're seeing. You're seeing tiny pinpricks of light swimming in an incomprehensible ocean of darkness. And here's the critical fact. That darkness between the stars? It's not empty space. It's not nothing. It's the actual fabric of the universe. In 1823, a German astronomer named Wilhelm Olbers asked a question that haunted astronomers for over a century. It became known as Olbers' paradox, and it goes like this. If the universe is infinite and filled with stars, why isn't the night sky bright? Think about it. If stars go on forever in every direction, then every single point in the sky should eventually hit a star. The entire night sky should be blazing like the surface of the sun. But it's not. It's dark. Overwhelmingly, cosmically, fundamentally dark. For decades, scientists struggled with this. Some proposed that dust absorbed the starlight. Others suggested the universe wasn't infinite. But here's what we discovered in the 20th century. And this is where things get wild. The universe is vast beyond comprehension, filled with hundreds of billions of galaxies, each containing hundreds of billions of stars. So why is it still dark? The answer reveals something profound. The universe is dark because it's expanding. Edwin Hubble figured this out in 1929 when he discovered that galaxies are racing away from us. The farther away they are, the faster they're moving. This expansion stretches the light from distant stars, shifting it toward the red end of the spectrum, and eventually beyond what our eyes can detect. The light becomes invisible, swallowed by the expansion of space itself. But here's the mind-bending part. This means the universe is actively choosing darkness. The fundamental dynamics of space-time expansion ensure that darkness wins. Always. Let me give you an analogy that makes this concrete. Think of the universe like a balloon with dots painted on it, representing galaxies. As you inflate the balloon, the dots move apart. But here's what people miss. The space between the dots isn't just getting bigger. It's being created. New space is coming into existence, and that new space, it's born dark. Every second, the universe creates more cubic kilometers of dark space than it creates light. Darkness isn't losing the battle. It's winning by an infinite margin. But we're just getting started. What if I told you that the darkness you see isn't even the deepest darkness that exists? Stay with me, because we're about to go deeper. Let's talk about what scientists call the observable universe. Right now, the farthest light we can detect has traveled for 13.8 billion years to reach us. That's the age of the universe. But because space has been expanding this whole time, those distant objects are now about 46 billion light years away. This creates something called the cosmic horizon. Beyond that horizon, we can't see anything. Not because there's nothing there, but because light from those regions hasn't had time to reach us yet. Here's what will blow your mind. That means we're surrounded by a sphere of darkness that we can never penetrate. Not with better telescopes. Not with future technology. Never. The expansion of space ensures that some darkness will remain forever invisible to us. There's a wall of absolute, impenetrable darkness surrounding our observable universe, and it's growing larger every second. In 1964, two scientists named Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson were testing a radio antenna in New Jersey when they detected a strange hiss coming from every direction in space. At first, they thought it was bird droppings interfering with their equipment. They cleaned off the pigeon poop and listened again. The hiss was still there. What they had accidentally discovered was the cosmic microwave background radiation, the afterglow of the Big Bang itself. They won the Nobel Prize for this discovery in 1978. But here's what's rarely emphasized about this discovery. The CMB represents the moment when the universe first became dark. For the first 380,000 years after the Big Bang, the universe was so hot and dense that light couldn't travel freely. Photons would scatter off free electrons in a cosmic fog. The universe was opaque. Then, as it expanded and cooled, electrons combined with protons to form neutral hydrogen atoms. Suddenly, photons could travel freely. This moment is called recombination, and it's when the universe became transparent. But here's the critical insight. Transparency and darkness are the same thing. When the universe became transparent, it became dark. Before that moment, there was no darkness because light couldn't travel to create the contrast. Darkness, as we understand it, was born at that moment. The universe's natural state crystallized into what it is now. A vast, transparent, dark expanse, occasionally disturbed by pockets of fusion reactions we call stars. Think of it like this. Imagine you're in a thick fog. You can't see far, and everything is diffuse and glowing. Then suddenly, the fog clears. You can see for miles. But what you're actually seeing is mostly empty space, darkness, with occasional objects interrupting it. That's what happened to our universe. It went from opaque brightness to transparent darkness, and it has remained dark ever since. Now, let me ask you something that's going to mess with your head. Is darkness even a thing? Or is it just the absence of photons? This seems like a simple question, but the answer has been debated by physicists and philosophers for centuries. And recent discoveries suggest something shocking. Darkness might actually be something real, something that can be measured, quantified, and even manipulated. In quantum field theory, which is our best description of how the universe works at its smallest scales, empty space isn't empty. It's filled with quantum fields that permeate all of existence. These fields can be excited, and when they are, particles pop into existence. A photon is an excitation in the electromagnetic field. An electron is an excitation in the electron field. But here's the key. When these fields are in their ground state, their lowest energy level, they're not excited. They're dark. And that darkness? It's a measurable, quantifiable state. The physicist Paul Dirac discovered something extraordinary in 1928 when he was trying to combine quantum mechanics with special relativity. His equations predicted the existence of antimatter, but they also revealed something else. The vacuum of space is actually a sea of negative energy states. We exist on top of this sea, and what we call empty space is actually the lowest possible energy level of quantum fields. Darkness, in this framework, isn't nothing. It's the ground state of reality itself. Here's an analogy. Think of a still pond. The water represents the quantum field. When you throw a stone in it, ripples appear. Those ripples are like particles, excitations in the field. But the still water, that's darkness. It's not the absence of water. It's water in its lowest energy state. And just like the pond naturally returns to stillness, the universe naturally returns to darkness. Light is the stone. Darkness is the pond. And the pond is always there. But we need to go even deeper, because there's another type of darkness that's even more fundamental and more mysterious than anything we've discussed so far. And this darkness makes up most of the universe. In the 1970s, astronomer Vera Rubin was studying the rotation of galaxies, and she noticed something impossible. The outer edges of galaxies were spinning just as fast as the inner regions. This doesn't make sense according to Newton's laws of gravity. If most of a galaxy's mass is concentrated at its center where the stars are, then the outer edges should be moving slower, just like the outer planets in our solar system move slower than the inner ones. But they weren't. The outer stars were moving way too fast. By all rights, they should have been flung out into space by centrifugal force. But they weren't. Something was holding them in. Something invisible. Something dark. Rubin's observations, confirmed by dozens of other astronomers in the following decades, led to one of the most shocking revelations in the history of science. Most of the matter in the universe is invisible. We call it dark matter, and it makes up about 85% of all matter in existence. Think about that. Everything you can see, every star, every planet, every galaxy, every photon of light, all of it combined makes up only 15% of the matter in the universe. The rest is dark. Fundamentally, essentially, invisibly dark. And here's what's crazy. We have no idea what dark matter is. We know it exists because we can see its gravitational effects. We can map it by observing how it bends light from distant galaxies. We can measure its density in different regions of space, but we cannot detect it directly. It doesn't emit light. It doesn't absorb light. It doesn't interact with electromagnetic radiation at all. It's a form of darkness so complete that it makes the darkness between stars look bright by comparison. Let me give you an analogy that makes this concrete. Imagine you're in a room with invisible people. You can't see them, but you can see their effects. You see doors opening and closing by themselves. You see footprints appearing on a dusty floor. You see objects moving around. You know the invisible people are there because of what they do, but you can never see them directly. That's dark matter. It's there. It's real. It's most of the matter in the universe. But it exists in a state of absolute darkness that transcends our ability to perceive it. Now, just when you think it can't get weirder, let me tell you about something that makes dark matter look simple. In 1998, two teams of astronomers, led by Saul Perlmutter, Brian Schmidt, and Adam Rees, were studying distant supernova to measure the expansion rate of the universe. They expected to find that the expansion was slowing down due to gravity. Instead, they found that it was speeding up. The universe isn't just expanding. It's expanding faster and faster, accelerating outward like a car with the gas pedal pressed to the floor. This makes no sense. Gravity should be slowing the expansion down, pulling everything back together. What could possibly be pushing the universe apart with enough force to overcome the gravitational attraction of all the matter in existence? The answer these scientists proposed was something called dark energy, and for this discovery, they won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2011. Here's where your mind should officially explode. Dark energy makes up about 68% of the entire universe. Dark matter makes up another 27%. That means all the normal matter, everything made of atoms, everything that can emit or absorb light, everything you've ever seen or touched or measured, all of it combined makes up only 5% of the universe. 5%. The universe is 95% dark. Not just dark in the sense of not emitting light, but dark in the sense of being made of substances we can't detect, don't understand, and can barely theorize about. Think about the implications of this. You are made of the rare stuff, the exceptional material, the 5% that can interact with light. You are a temporary coalition of atoms that briefly coalesced out of the darkness, became capable of perceiving light, and will eventually dissolve back into darkness. The universe isn't mostly like you. You are the aberration. Darkness is the norm. But here's what's really going to mess with your head. What if dark energy is just empty space itself? What if the darkness of empty space has energy? What if the void, the nothing, the darkness between galaxies, has a small but measurable amount of energy associated with it? And because space is constantly expanding, creating more darkness, that dark energy accumulates, pushing the universe apart faster and faster? This is called vacuum energy, or the cosmological constant, and it was first proposed by Albert Einstein in 1917, then rejected by him as his biggest blunder, and then revived decades later when we discovered dark energy. If this is true, then darkness isn't just the default state of the universe. It's an active force, the most powerful force in existence, the force that will determine the ultimate fate of everything. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine you're on a boat in the ocean. The water represents space itself. Dark energy is like the ocean having a slight outward pressure, a tendency to expand. At small scales, it doesn't matter. Your boat is held together by the strength of its structure. But at large scales, across the entire ocean, this pressure is enormous. It pushes the continents apart. It expands the ocean basins. Similarly, dark energy is negligible at the scale of solar systems or even galaxies, but at the scale of the entire universe, it dominates everything. And it's winning. Now let's talk about something that will change how you think about your own experience of darkness. Close your eyes right now. Go ahead, do it. What do you see? Most people say they see blackness or darkness, but that's not quite accurate. What you're experiencing is a neurological representation of the absence of light stimulation. Your brain is constructing the experience of darkness. Here's where it gets interesting. People who are born blind and have never seen light don't experience darkness the way you do. When you ask them what they see, many say they don't see anything. Not darkness, not blackness, nothing. The concept of visual darkness doesn't exist for them because they've never experienced visual light. Their sensory world doesn't include the visual spectrum at all. This reveals something profound. Darkness, as we experience it, is actually created by our brains. It's not a direct perception of reality. It's an interpretation. Your visual cortex is constantly generating a model of the world based on photons hitting your retina. When those photons stop, your brain fills in the experience of darkness. But that experience is a construct, a mental representation, not a direct perception of what's actually there. Neuroscientist David Eagleman has studied this extensively. He's shown that about 80% of the fibers in the optic nerve run from the brain to the eyes, not the other way around. Your brain is constantly making predictions about what you're about to see, and it only updates those predictions when reality diverges from expectations. In darkness, your brain is still working, still predicting, still constructing a visual field. But it's constructing emptiness, absence, darkness. You're not perceiving darkness. You're hallucinating it. Think of it like this. Imagine your brain is like a television screen. When there's no signal, it doesn't go blank. It shows static or a blue screen. That's what darkness is for your visual system. It's the default display when there's no incoming signal. But just as a blue screen isn't what's really there when there's no TV signal, darkness isn't what's really there when there's no light. What's really there is quantum fields in their ground state, and your brain interprets that as darkness. But here's where this gets even weirder. Recent research in neuroscience has shown that your eyes actually emit light. Tiny amounts of bioluminescence are produced by chemical reactions in your retina. When you're in complete darkness, you're actually seeing a faint glow from your own eyes, but your brain filters it out. Some of what you perceive as darkness is actually light from your own visual system. The darkness you see is partly a lie your brain tells you to make sense of reality. Now let's connect this back to the cosmos. Remember how we talked about the universe being 95% dark? Well, even that 5% of normal matter is mostly dark. An atom is mostly empty space. The nucleus is about 100,000 times smaller than the atom itself. If you scaled up an atom to the size of a football stadium, the nucleus would be a marble in the center, and the electrons would be invisible particles orbiting at the edge of the stands. Everything in between? Darkness, empty space, quantum fields in their ground state. You are mostly darkness. Your body, which feels solid, is actually 99.9999999% empty space. The particles that make you up are tiny excitations in quantum fields, separated by vast distances at the atomic scale. You are a constellation of particles held together by forces, floating in an internal ocean of darkness. When you touch something, you're not actually touching it. The electrons in your hand are repelling the electrons in the object due to electromagnetic force. You're feeling the push of force fields across a gap of darkness. Contact is an illusion. Darkness is what's real. Here's an analogy. Think of the universe as a dark ocean. Normal matter, the stuff you're made of, is like foam on the surface of waves. It seems substantial, but it's mostly air bubbles temporarily held together by surface tension. Beneath the foam is the deep, dark ocean. That's the real universe. You're living in the foam, thinking it's the ocean, while beneath you lies an abyss of darkness so deep and vast that it makes your existence seem like a brief sparkle on the surface of an infinite black sea. But let's go even deeper into this darkness, because there's a type of darkness that's darker than anything we've discussed, and it exists at the very edge of physics itself. In 1915, Albert Einstein published his general theory of relativity, which described gravity not as a force, but as the curvature of space-time. Massive objects bend space and time around them. John Wheeler, one of the greatest physicists of the 20th century, summarized it perfectly. Matter tells space how to curve, and space tells matter how to move. But Einstein's equations had solutions that were so bizarre, so extreme, that even Einstein didn't believe they could be real. One of these solutions was discovered by Karl Schwarzschild in 1916 while he was serving in the German army during World War I. He found that if you compressed enough mass into a small enough space, the curvature of space-time would become so extreme that nothing, not even light, could escape. This is what we now call a black hole. And here's where we encounter the ultimate darkness. A black hole isn't just dark because it doesn't emit light. It's dark because it's a region of space-time where darkness has become so intense, so absolute, that it has collapsed in on itself. At the center of a black hole is something called a singularity, a point where the curvature of space-time becomes infinite. And surrounding the singularity is the event horizon, a boundary beyond which nothing can return. The event horizon is the ultimate darkness. It's not just that light can't escape. It's that the very concept of out doesn't exist anymore. Inside a black hole, the direction away from the singularity becomes a direction in time, not space. Moving outward becomes as impossible as moving backward in time. You are trapped in a funnel of space-time that leads only to the singularity. And when you reach the singularity, nobody knows. The laws of physics break down. Quantum mechanics and general relativity give conflicting answers. It might be the end of space and time. It might be a tunnel to another universe. Or it might be something we don't have concepts for yet. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine you're in a river, approaching a waterfall. At first, you can swim against the current. You have a choice about where you go. But as you get closer to the waterfall, the current gets stronger. Eventually, you reach a point where the current is so strong that you can't swim back upstream, no matter how hard you try. That point is like the event horizon. Once you cross it, you're going over the waterfall, and there's nothing you can do about it. The singularity is the bottom of the waterfall, where the river ceases to exist in any form you understand. But here's what's truly mind-bending. From the perspective of someone falling into a black hole, time behaves strangely. As you approach the event horizon, time dilation becomes extreme. To an outside observer, you appear to slow down, getting redder and dimmer as you approach the horizon, until you seem to freeze at the boundary, taking infinite time to cross it. But from your perspective, you sail right through in finite time. The darkness of the black hole consumes you in moments, while to the outside universe, you remain frozen at the edge of darkness forever. And here's something that will blow your mind. Every black hole contains darkness that is causally disconnected from the rest of the universe. The events inside the black hole cannot influence events outside. Information that falls into a black hole is lost forever, trapped in a prison of darkness. This violates a fundamental principle of quantum mechanics called unitarity, which says that information can never be destroyed. This paradox, called the black hole information paradox, has haunted physicists for decades. Stephen Hawking worked on it for 40 years. The resolution might require a complete revolution in our understanding of space, time, and darkness itself. Now, here's a revelation that connects everything we've discussed. What if the universe itself is inside a black hole? Some cosmologists have proposed that our entire universe might be the interior of a black hole in a larger universe. The Big Bang might have been the moment we crossed the event horizon. The expansion of space might be the inevitable fall toward a singularity. And the darkness that dominates our universe might be the darkness of being trapped inside the ultimate prison of curved spacetime. This isn't science fiction. This is a serious hypothesis proposed by physicists like Lee Smolin and Nikodem Poplawski. If it's true, then darkness isn't just the natural state of our universe. It's our ultimate destiny. We're falling through darkness toward more darkness, and we can never escape. Every moment of light is a temporary eddy in an inevitable flow toward absolute darkness. But before you get too depressed, let me tell you about something that offers a strange kind of hope, or at least a different perspective on what darkness means. In 1974, Stephen Hawking made a discovery that shocked the physics community. He showed that black holes aren't completely dark. They emit radiation. This radiation, now called Hawking radiation, comes from quantum effects near the event horizon. Virtual particles, which quantum mechanics says are constantly popping into and out of existence everywhere, occasionally pop into existence right at the event horizon. One particle falls into the black hole and the other escapes. To an outside observer, it looks like the black hole is emitting radiation. It's glowing very faintly, with a temperature inversely proportional to its mass. This means that black holes, the ultimate darkness, aren't completely dark. They glow, very faintly, much fainter than the cosmic microwave background, but they glow. And as they emit this radiation, they lose mass. Over unimaginably long time scales, quadrillions of years, black holes will evaporate completely, converting all their mass into radiation. Even the ultimate darkness is temporary. Here's what this means. Darkness, no matter how absolute, no matter how intense, is not the end. Even black holes, which seem like eternal prisons of darkness, eventually dissolve. The universe might be 95% dark, but that darkness is not static. It's dynamic, it's evolving. It's temporary in the very longest view. Now let me blow your mind one more time before we move on. If black holes emit Hawking radiation, then so does the empty space of the universe itself. The expansion of space creates an event horizon, a cosmological horizon beyond which we can never see. And that horizon should emit radiation, just like a black hole does. The universe is glowing, very faintly, with a temperature of about 10 to 30 Kelvin. This is called the Gibbons-Hawking temperature, and it's real. The darkness of empty space is not completely dark. It has a temperature. It glows, but this glow is so faint that it's completely overwhelmed by every other source of radiation in the universe. You would only detect it if you could somehow shield yourself from every single photon from every other source, including the cosmic microwave background. You would need to create a bubble of absolute darkness, darker than intergalactic space, darker than the inside of a black hole, and only then would you detect the faint glow of the vacuum itself. Darkness, at its most fundamental level, glows. Let's shift gears now and talk about something that will connect all of this to your daily life. We've been discussing cosmic darkness, but what about the darkness you experience every day? What about the night? For most of human history, nighttime was truly dark. The only lights available were fires, candles, and oil lamps. The Milky Way was visible from almost anywhere on Earth. Our ancestors lived in a world where they were intimately connected to cosmic darkness. They saw the stars every night. They understood, at a visceral level, that they lived on a planet surrounded by an incomprehensible void. But in the last century, something unprecedented happened. We invented electric lighting and began illuminating the night. Today, 80% of the world's population lives under light-polluted skies. In the United States and Europe, 99% of the population cannot see the Milky Way from where they live. We have banished darkness from our immediate environment. We live in bubbles of artificial light, pretending that the cosmic darkness doesn't exist. This has profound consequences that scientists are only beginning to understand. Light pollution disrupts the circadian rhythms of nearly every organism on Earth. It affects the migration patterns of birds, the reproduction cycles of sea turtles, the hunting behavior of nocturnal predators, and the pollination patterns of night-blooming plants. We've disrupted ecosystems by refusing to accept darkness. But it also affects us. Humans evolved for millions of years with a clear distinction between day and night. Our bodies are designed to be active during daylight and to rest in darkness. Our brains produce melatonin, a hormone that regulates sleep, primarily in response to darkness. When we expose ourselves to artificial light at night, especially the blue light from screens, we suppress melatonin production. We're telling our bodies that it's still daytime, even when it's not. The health consequences are staggering. Chronic exposure to light at night has been linked to increased rates of obesity, diabetes, depression, and certain cancers. Shift workers, who experience the most disrupted light-dark cycles, have significantly higher rates of these diseases. We're discovering that darkness isn't optional. It's not just the absence of light. It's a biological necessity. We need darkness the way we need air and water. Here's an analogy. Imagine your body is like a factory with two shifts. The day shift handles digestion, activity, stress response, and consciousness. The night shift handles repair, growth, memory consolidation, and immune function. When you don't give your body darkness, you never let the night shift start. The day shift keeps working, getting more and more exhausted, while all the maintenance work piles up undone. Eventually, the factory breaks down. But here's what's really interesting. The problem isn't just that we're not getting enough darkness. It's that we've lost our connection to natural darkness. We've forgotten what darkness is. We've made it something to fear, something to avoid, something to hide from. We turn on lights reflexively. We fill every space with illumination. We treat darkness as an enemy to be conquered rather than a natural state to be respected. Throughout human history, darkness was the time for storytelling, for introspection, for connection with the cosmos. In darkness, humans gathered around fires and created art, music, mythology, and philosophy. The darkness freed them from the demands of daylight. It gave them time to think, to dream, to wonder. Modern humans have lost this. We've filled our nights with the same frantic activity as our days. We've eliminated the contemplative space that darkness naturally creates. There's a growing movement of people trying to restore darkness. Dark sky preserves are being established to protect areas from light pollution. Astronomers are fighting for the right to maintain dark skies for research. Environmentalists are documenting the ecological damage of light pollution. And neuroscientists are discovering that exposure to natural darkness, the kind of darkness humans experienced for millions of years, is essential for mental health. Here's something you can try tonight. Turn off all the lights in your home. Don't use any devices. Sit in complete darkness for 30 minutes. Your eyes will begin to adapt. Your night vision will kick in. You'll start to see shapes, shadows, subtle variations in darkness. And something else will happen. Your mind will slow down. The constant visual stimulation that dominates your waking hours will cease. You'll be forced to be alone with your thoughts in a way that rarely happens in modern life. Many people find this uncomfortable at first, but if you persist, you'll discover something profound. Darkness is not empty. It's full of possibility, full of rest, full of a different kind of awareness. Now let's talk about something that will blow your mind. What if darkness is conscious? What if the vast, dark universe isn't empty, but filled with a form of awareness we can't detect? This might sound like mysticism, but it's actually grounded in serious philosophical questions about the nature of consciousness. We know that consciousness exists. You're experiencing it right now, but we have no idea how consciousness arises from physical matter. This is called the hard problem of consciousness, and it's one of the deepest mysteries in science and philosophy. One proposed solution is called panpsychism, the idea that consciousness is a fundamental property of the universe, like mass or charge. Just as every particle has mass, every particle has some primitive form of consciousness or experience. Complex consciousness, like yours, emerges when lots of particles are organized in the right way. But even an isolated electron, according to this view, has some infinitesimally small bit of experience associated with it. If this is true, then the dark universe isn't unconscious. It's filled with primitive forms of awareness. Every quantum field, every particle of dark matter, every cubic centimeter of dark energy has some associated experience. The darkness is not dead. It's not empty. It's suffused with a form of consciousness so alien to ours that we can't recognize it. We're like islands of complex awareness in an ocean of simple awareness. But we're not separate from the ocean. We arose from it, and we'll return to it. Think about it this way. You're made of atoms that were forged in stars, scattered into dark space when those stars exploded, and then slowly collected by gravity into a new star system where they formed a planet and eventually you. The atoms in your body have existed for billions of years. They've been part of countless other structures, other organisms, other configurations. If those atoms carry some primitive form of experience, then you are a temporary coalition of ancient awareness, briefly organized into a pattern complex enough to experience selfhood, soon to dissolve back into the cosmic sea of simple awareness. The physicist Freeman Dyson speculated about this in his writings. He suggested that if consciousness is a fundamental property of matter, then the universe might be filled with forms of awareness we can't detect because they operate on timescales or size scales vastly different from ours. A galaxy might be conscious, experiencing one thought over 1 billion years. A cloud of dark matter might have experiences, but they're so different from ours that we have no common ground for recognition. The darkness might be alive in ways we cannot imagine. Now, I need to be clear, this is speculation. We have no evidence for panpsychism, and many philosophers and scientists reject it. But the fact that serious thinkers consider it shows how little we understand about consciousness and its relationship to the physical universe. And it opens up a possibility that transforms how we think about darkness. What if darkness isn't empty? What if it's the deepest form of being? But here's where we need to get practical, because all of this philosophy and cosmology connects to something immediate and personal. How should this understanding of darkness change how you live? What does it mean for your daily life that you're a brief pattern of light in an eternal ocean of darkness? Let's start with time. You exist for a cosmically insignificant period. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. If you live for 80 years, that's 0.00000000006% of the universe's current age. And the universe will continue long after you're gone. In about 5 billion years, the sun will expand into a red giant and consume the Earth. In about 100 trillion years, all the stars will burn out. The universe will enter what's called the degenerate era, where the only light comes from the occasional flash of a white dwarf accreting matter or a proton decaying. After about 10,100 years, even black holes will evaporate. The universe will be nothing but extremely diffuse radiation approaching absolute zero, a state of near maximum entropy called heat death. But here's the thing, this isn't depressing. It's liberating. The fact that you exist at all, that you're part of the brief era when the universe is young and stars are shining and planets are orbiting and life is possible, is astonishing. You're living in a special time, a temporary rebellion against cosmic darkness. You're made of atoms that will eventually be scattered back into the darkness, but right now, they're organized into the pattern that is you, capable of looking up at the stars and understanding what you're looking at. The philosopher Thomas Nagel wrote about this in his essay, The Absurd. He argued that our lives are absurd because there's a disconnect between how seriously we take our goals and projects and how insignificant those goals appear from a cosmic perspective. You worry about your career, your relationships, your social status. But from the perspective of the universe, none of it matters. 1 billion years from now, there will be no trace that you ever existed. But Nagel's point isn't that you should give up. It's that you should embrace the absurdity. You create meaning in a universe that has no inherent meaning. You care about things even though the universe doesn't care. And that's beautiful. That's heroic. That's what makes you human. You're a temporary pattern of light, asserting that you matter, even though the darkness doesn't care. Here's an analogy. Imagine you're building a sandcastle on a beach. You know the tide is coming in. You know your sandcastle will be washed away. But you build it anyway. You make it beautiful. You take pride in it. And when the tide comes, you don't despair. You simply accept that sandcastles are temporary and build another one next time. Your life is the sandcastle. The tide is the darkness. Build it anyway. This understanding of darkness should make you more present. Every moment is unique. Every experience is temporary. The people you love will die. You will die. Everything you create will eventually be destroyed. But right now, in this moment, you exist. You're aware. You can see, hear, feel, think. You're a brief eddy of complexity in a universe, trending towards simplicity. Cherish that. Don't waste it worrying about things that won't matter. Don't spend your precious moments of light scrolling through social media, or being angry at strangers online, or grinding away at a job you hate. You have a cosmically brief window of consciousness. Use it wisely. But here's the paradox. Even though nothing matters from a cosmic perspective, everything matters from your perspective. You can't live as though nothing matters because you're trapped in your subjective experience. You feel pain and joy. You form attachments. You care about outcomes. The cosmic insignificance doesn't change that. So you're caught between two truths. Objectively, you don't matter. Subjectively, you matter more than anything. The solution is to hold both truths simultaneously. Yes, you're insignificant. Yes, you matter. The universe is mostly darkness. But in this tiny corner of it, in this brief moment, there is light, and you're part of that light. You're one of the ways the universe experiences itself. You're how atoms learn to wonder about atoms. And that's worth something, even if it's temporary. Now let's talk about death, because understanding darkness means understanding what happens when your light goes out. From a materialist perspective, death is the end of your consciousness. The pattern that is you dissolves. The atoms that made you up are recycled into other structures. Your body decomposes, feeding bacteria and fungi and insects, eventually returning to the soil, where the atoms become part of plants, which are eaten by animals, which are eaten by other animals, and the cycle continues. You return to the cosmic darkness, but your atoms remain, continuing their eternal dance through the universe. But here's something interesting. Your atoms will last far longer than any memory of you. After a few generations, nobody will remember your name. After a few thousand years, every trace of your cultural impact will be gone. After the sun becomes a red giant in 5 billion years, the earth will be consumed, and any physical evidence that you ever existed will be vaporized. But your atoms, they'll continue. They might end up in a gas cloud, then a new star, then a new planet, then a new living thing. You, as a pattern, are temporary, but you, as a collection of matter, are eternal. The atoms reading these words right now have existed for billions of years and will exist for billions more. Think about that. You're not a separate thing from the universe. You're a temporary expression of it. You're the universe looking at itself, briefly aware, soon to dissolve back into unconscious matter. But that matter isn't gone. It's transformed. Death isn't an ending. It's a return to the darkness you came from, the darkness that was always there, the darkness that is the universe's natural state. Here's an analogy. Imagine the universe is an ocean. Waves rise up from the ocean, exist for a moment, and then sink back into the ocean. You are a wave. You feel distinct. You feel separate, but you're made of ocean water. You arose from the ocean, and you'll return to it. Were you ever really separate? Or were you always part of the ocean, just temporarily shaped into a wave? The Buddhist concept of non-self expresses something similar. You think you're a solid, continuous self, but you're actually a collection of changing processes. Your body replaces all its cells every few years. Your thoughts and emotions are constantly changing. Your memories are being rewritten every time you recall them. There's no stable, permanent self. There's just a river of experience flowing through time, and you mistake that river for a thing. When you die, the river doesn't end. It just stops being organized into the pattern you call you. But many people find this perspective terrifying. They want to continue as themselves. They want personal immortality. And this fear of darkness, this fear of non-existence, has driven much of human culture. Religion often promises survival after death. Technology promises life extension. People cryopreserve their bodies, hoping to be revived in the future. We fight against the darkness with every tool we have. But what if we accepted the darkness instead of fighting it? What if we acknowledged that our time is limited and made peace with that? Studies of people with terminal illnesses show something surprising. When people accept their approaching death, they often become more, not less, happy. They stop sweating the small stuff. They focus on what really matters: relationships, experiences, beauty, love. They live more intensely in the time they have left. The acceptance of darkness gives their light more meaning. This doesn't mean you should give up on life. It means you should stop living as though you're going to live forever. Stop postponing things that matter. Stop assuming you'll have time later. You might not. None of us might. Every moment is borrowed from the darkness, and it will eventually be reclaimed. Now let's zoom back out to the cosmic scale and talk about the ultimate fate of the universe, because understanding where it's all heading changes how we think about now. Cosmologists have identified several possible futures for the universe, and they all end in darkness. The specific type of darkness depends on the amount of dark energy and how it behaves over time, but every scenario ends the same way: cold, dark, empty. The most likely scenario, based on current observations, is called heat death or the Big Freeze. In this future, the universe continues expanding forever, accelerating due to dark energy. Stars burn out, black holes evaporate. Eventually, the universe becomes a cold, diffuse soup of radiation, approaching absolute zero. Nothing happens anymore. No energy flows. No structures form. No thoughts think. The universe exists in a state of maximum entropy, perfect equilibrium, absolute darkness, eternal and unchanging. This will take an incomprehensibly long time. We're talking 10,100 years or more, but eventually it will happen. The temporary rebellion of complexity against entropy will end. The universe will return to its natural state: darkness, stillness, emptiness. But here's something that will blow your mind. Even in that far future, quantum mechanics suggests that random fluctuations might occur. Over unimaginably long timescales, rare combinations of particles might spontaneously assemble into complex structures. A brain, complete with memories and thoughts, might randomly fluctuate into existence, exist for a brief moment, and then dissolve back into the darkness. These are called Boltzmann brains, named after Ludwig Boltzmann, who first explored these ideas in statistical mechanics. And here's the disturbing part. In an infinite future, these random fluctuations will happen infinitely many times. That means, in some sense, consciousness will never permanently end. It will flicker back into existence over and over, like lightning in an eternal night. The darkness will be interrupted by brief moments of awareness, lasting microseconds, scattered across trillions of years, but summing to infinity. This raises a profound question: which is more likely, that you're a normal observer in the early universe, or that you're a Boltzmann brain, a random fluctuation in the far future who has false memories of living in the 21st century? Statistically, in an infinite future, there will be far more Boltzmann brains with your exact memories than there are real observers like you. So you're more likely to be a Boltzmann brain than a real person. This is called the Boltzmann brain problem, and it's a serious challenge to our understanding of cosmology. Most cosmologists think there's something wrong with the reasoning, but nobody knows what. Maybe the universe doesn't last forever. Maybe quantum mechanics works differently than we think. Or maybe you are a Boltzmann brain, existing for a brief moment in the far future, dreaming that you're watching a YouTube video in 2025, soon to dissolve back into the darkness from which you randomly emerged. Think about that. You might be a dream of the darkness itself, a temporary pattern in eternal chaos, convinced that you're real, convinced that you have a history, convinced that you're watching a video about darkness, while being nothing more than a brief excitation in a dead universe's quantum fields. The darkness might be dreaming you into existence right now, and you'll never know. But here's the thing. Even if that's true, it doesn't matter. Your experience is real to you. Your thoughts are real to you. Your life is real to you. Whether you're a normal observer or a Boltzmann brain, the experience of being you is the same. The darkness might be everything, but right now for you, there is light, there is awareness, there is meaning. And that's enough. Now let's talk about something more hopeful, because despite all this talk of darkness, there's something beautiful about it. Darkness is peaceful. Darkness is restful. Darkness is where things grow. Seeds germinate in the darkness of soil. Babies develop in the darkness of the womb. Ideas form in the darkness of sleep. Creativity emerges from the darkness of the unconscious mind. Darkness isn't just about ending. It's about beginning. Think about how the universe began. The Big Bang emerged from a singularity, a point of infinite density and darkness. The universe expanded from that darkness, cooling and forming structures, eventually creating stars, planets, and life. Darkness is the womb from which everything emerged. You are a child of darkness, not its enemy. Many spiritual traditions understand this. In mysticism, the dark night of the soul is a period of spiritual desolation that precedes enlightenment. In alchemy, the nigredo or blackening is the first stage of the magnum opus, the great work of transformation. In psychology, Carl Jung wrote about the shadow, the dark unconscious parts of yourself that you need to integrate to become whole. Darkness is where transformation happens. The poet Rainer Maria Rilke wrote, "Perhaps all the dragons in our lives are princesses who are only waiting to see us act, just once, with beauty and courage. Perhaps everything that frightens us, in its deepest essence, something helpless that wants our love." What if that applies to darkness? What if the darkness we fear is actually the ground of being, the source of everything, waiting for us to stop fighting it and embrace it instead? What if making peace with darkness is the key to understanding our place in the universe? Here's an exercise. Think about the things in your life that come from darkness, the quiet moments of introspection, the restful sleep that heals your body and mind, the fertile soil that grows your food, the warm darkness of being held by someone you love, the creative darkness where ideas germinate before coming into the light. Darkness gives you these things. Darkness is not your enemy. And cosmically, darkness is what allows stars to shine. If the universe were filled with light, uniformly bright in every direction, you wouldn't be able to see individual stars. It's the contrast with darkness that makes light visible. The darkness is the canvas on which the light paints. Without darkness, there would be no beauty, no stars, no awareness. Darkness makes everything else possible. Now I want to talk about something that might be the most important insight of this entire video. You are both the light and the darkness. You're not separate from either. You're a process, a pattern, a wave in the cosmic ocean. And understanding this dissolves the fear. When you look up at the night sky, you're looking at a darkness that's inside you. The atoms in your body were forged in stars and scattered into the dark void. The empty space between your atoms is the same empty space that fills the universe. The quantum fields that make you up are the same quantum fields that permeate all of existence. You're not in the universe. You are the universe, temporarily self-aware. And when you look inside yourself, at your thoughts and feelings and experiences, you're looking at light. Consciousness, awareness, subjective experience, these are the light. They're temporary, local, fragile, but they're real. And they're part of the universe too. You are the place where light and darkness meet. You are the boundary, the transition, the interface. You're how the darkness becomes aware of itself. You're how the universe sees itself. And when you die, when your light goes out, you return to the darkness. But the darkness was always part of you. You're not losing something foreign. You're returning home. This understanding should eliminate the fear of death. You can't lose what you never had. You were never separate from the darkness. You are always part of it. Your life is the darkness, briefly pretending to be separate, briefly experiencing what it's like to be distinct, soon to remember its true nature. Death isn't an ending. It's a remembering. The Vietnamese Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh explained this beautifully with a metaphor about waves. A wave might fear death, thinking it will become nothing when it crashes on the shore, but the wave was never separate from the ocean. When it crashes, it doesn't die. It returns to what it always was. The wave is a temporary form of the ocean, and so are you a temporary form of the universe. But here's where it gets really interesting. If you're part of the universe, and the universe is mostly dark, then you're mostly dark too. Your conscious mind, your sense of self, your thoughts and memories, they're like foam on the surface of a deep ocean. Beneath them is your unconscious mind, the automatic processes that keep you alive, the instincts and drives you're not aware of, the vast neurological machinery that generates consciousness without being conscious itself. You are mostly darkness, briefly aware of a small sliver of light. And this is true moment to moment. Right now, your brain is processing millions of bits of information per second. You're conscious of maybe 40 bits per second. The vast majority of what your brain does is hidden from you, operating in darkness, only occasionally bubbling up into conscious awareness. You are an island of light in a sea of darkness, and that darkness is you. It's not separate. It's not other. It's the foundation on which the light rests. This means that when you die, most of you isn't dying. Most of you is always in darkness, operating below the threshold of awareness. Only the small part that was conscious dissolves. The rest, the vast majority, continues in the atoms that made you up, in the energy that flowed through you, in the patterns you created in the world. You leave ripples in the darkness, and those ripples propagate forward in time, affecting things you'll never see, touching people you'll never meet. So here's my challenge to you. Start embracing darkness, not just philosophically, but practically. Turn off the lights more often. Spend time in natural darkness. Let your eyes adjust. Experience the world without constant visual stimulation. You'll find that darkness isn't empty. It's full of sounds, smells, tactile sensations, thoughts. Your other senses become sharper. Your mind becomes clearer. You reconnect with a part of human experience that's been lost in the modern world. And when you're in the darkness, think about the cosmic darkness. Think about the fact that you're on a small planet orbiting an average star in a galaxy of hundreds of billions of stars, in a universe of hundreds of billions of galaxies, most of which are racing away from you into the darkness. Think about the fact that the light from distant galaxies has been traveling toward you for billions of years, and you're the first conscious being to intercept it. Those photons were created in a star when the Earth was still young, traveled through the darkness of intergalactic space, and ended their journey in your eye, allowing you to see. You're catching light that's been swimming through darkness for longer than complex life has existed on Earth. This should fill you with awe. You're part of something so vast, so ancient, so strange that you can barely comprehend it. And the darkness is the connective tissue. The darkness is what joins everything together. The light separates things into distinct objects, but the darkness unifies them. In the darkness, boundaries dissolve. Everything is part of the same cosmic whole. Now let me share with you one final revelation, the one that ties everything together. What if consciousness itself is a form of light, and the universe is the process by which darkness becomes aware of itself? Think about it. For the first 9 billion years of the universe's existence, as far as we know, nothing was conscious. The universe existed, but it didn't know it existed. Atoms formed, stars ignited, galaxies swirled, but there was no awareness, no subjective experience, no inner light. Just objective darkness, behaving according to physical laws, meaninglessly churning. Then, about 4 billion years ago on Earth, something extraordinary happened. Molecules organized themselves into patterns that could replicate. life began. And life had a primitive form of awareness. Even bacteria respond to their environment, seek out nutrients, avoid toxins. There's something it's like to be a bacterium, some primitive form of experience, however simple. Over billions of years, life became more complex. Nervous systems developed, brains appeared, and eventually, about 300,000 years ago, humans emerged. And humans have something unique: self-awareness, the ability to think about thinking, to know that they know, to ask questions about their own existence. Humans are the universe asking itself questions. We're how the darkness became self-aware. And this process is accelerating. Human knowledge is doubling every few years. We're building technologies that extend our awareness. Telescopes let us see galaxies billions of light years away. Particle accelerators let us probe the structure of matter at the smallest scales. The internet connects human minds in ways never before possible. We're building artificial intelligences that might soon rival or surpass human consciousness. What if this is the universe's purpose? What if the natural progression of physics leads inevitably to consciousness, to light, to awareness? What if the darkness naturally generates light, not as an anomaly, but as its destiny? This is called the anthropic principle in its strongest form. The universe has the properties it does, because if it had different properties, consciousness couldn't exist, and there would be nobody to observe the universe. The universe is fine-tuned for consciousness. And perhaps this fine-tuning isn't accidental. Perhaps the universe wants to be observed. Perhaps darkness wants to become light. But here's the paradox. If consciousness is the universe's goal, then consciousness is also part of the universe. The universe doesn't create consciousness. The universe is consciousness, expressing itself through temporary forms like you. You're not observing the universe from outside. You're the universe observing itself from inside. The distinction between observer and observed dissolves. You are the universe. The universe is you. The light and the darkness are one. This is what mystics have been saying for thousands of years. The ancient Vedic texts say, Tat Tam Asi, you are that. The universe and the self are identical. What you call I is just the universe temporarily experiencing itself from a particular perspective. When you die, you don't cease to exist. The perspective shifts. The universe continues observing itself from other vantage points. Nothing is lost because nothing was ever separate. The philosopher Alan Watts explained it like this: you are an aperture through which the universe is looking at and exploring itself. You're not a separate thing interacting with the universe. You're an activity of the universe, like a wave is an activity of the ocean. And when the wave subsides, the ocean doesn't lose anything. It was always the ocean, just temporarily shaped into a wave. So here's the ultimate answer to our question. Is darkness the universe's natural state? Yes and no. Physically, the universe is predominantly dark. The expansion of space ensures that darkness wins on cosmic scales. But experientially, the universe is a dance between darkness and light, between potential and actualization, between unconscious matter and conscious awareness. You are that dance. You are the place where darkness and light meet, where the universe transitions from being to knowing, where matter becomes mind. And this is the most precious thing in existence. Not because it's permanent, it's not. But because it's rare, it's beautiful. And it's the universe's way of transcending its own darkness. When you look at the stars, you're not separate from them. You're made of the same stuff. You're their descendant, their child, their way of looking back at themselves. When you feel awe at the vastness of space, that's the universe feeling awe at itself. When you love someone, that's the universe loving itself. When you create art or music or ideas, that's the universe creating itself. You're not a passive observer of reality. You're an active participant in reality's self-creation. And when your time comes, when your light fades and you return to the darkness, you can do so without fear. Because you were never separate from the darkness. You were always part of it. Your consciousness was a brief flowering of the darkness into light, and now it returns to the soil from which it grew. But the darkness is not empty. It's not nothing. It's everything in potential, waiting for the next flower to bloom. The physicist Carl Sagan said, "We are a way for the cosmos to know itself." And that's what you are. You're the cosmos knowing itself. Your darkness becoming light. And that's a miracle, however temporary. So don't spend your life fighting the darkness. Embrace it. It's not your enemy. It's your home. It's where you came from and where you'll return. And in the brief time between, you have the incredible privilege of being conscious, of experiencing this strange and beautiful universe, of being the light that shines in the darkness. Make it count. Love deeply. Think boldly. Create beauty. Ask questions. Seek truth. Connect with others who are also briefly conscious. And when you look up at the night sky, remember, you're not looking at darkness from a position of light. Your darkness looking at itself, briefly aware, soon to sleep again, but having had the extraordinary experience of waking up. That's what you are. That's what we all are. Temporary coalitions of atoms, briefly self-aware, soon to dissolve, but having had the incredible good fortune to exist at all, to see the stars, to love and be loved, to think and feel and wonder. The universe is mostly dark, but in this tiny corner of it, for this brief moment in cosmic history, there is you. There is consciousness. There is light. And that light, however temporary, makes the darkness meaningful. Because without darkness, there would be no light. And without light, the darkness would never know itself. So yes, darkness is the universe's natural state, but you are the universe transcending that state, briefly but gloriously. And when you return to the darkness, you do so having changed it. Because the darkness that has been conscious, even briefly, is not the same darkness that has never known awareness. You transform the darkness by existing in it. You add meaning to meaninglessness. You add light to the void. And that's enough. That's everything. That's the answer to why anything exists at all. The universe is darkness becoming light, unconsciousness becoming conscious, potential becoming actual. And you are that process, happening right now, in this moment, reading these words, being alive. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. Thank you for spending these hours contemplating the darkness and the light. If this video changed how you see the universe, even a little bit, then it was worth making. Hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into the nature of reality, and leave a comment sharing your thoughts. What's your relationship with darkness? Has this changed it? I want to know. Remember, you are a brief spark in an infinite darkness, but you are a spark, burn bright. And when your light fades, know that you were part of something vast and strange and beautiful. The darkness was always there, but for a moment, because of you, there was light. And that matters. That will always matter. Even when the last star burns out and the universe returns to eternal darkness, the fact that there was once light, that there was once you, will remain true forever. Now go out there and live like you understand this. Live like someone who knows they're made of stardust, temporarily aware of itself. Live like someone who's dancing on the edge between light and darkness. Live like someone who has nothing to fear because they were never separate from the darkness to begin with. The universe is waiting to see what you'll do with your brief moment of light. Don't disappoint it. Don't disappoint yourself. You are the universe's way of understanding itself. So go understand, go experience, go create, go love, go live, and when the darkness finally claims you, smile, because you were never fighting against it. You are always part of it, and you've just completed your role in the cosmic dance between light and darkness, between knowing and unknowing, between being and non-being. Thank you, and good night.